Hi folks, and welcome back to Broadside Gaming with me, Zug. So today we're carrying on with the Zealot guides, and as you can see, we've got a knife build. So let's jump straight in and take a look at what we're using. So we're using the Katashan Combat Blade. Currently I'm using the Mark III. I just like the Mark III a little bit more, but either Mark works. And for the modifiers on this weapon, we are going for mobility being the dump stat. Surprise, surprise, surprise. As you can see, this thing's not perfectly rolled for me. I have yet to go out and buy another one because I've been spending all my money on other weapons. So this will do for now. But like I said, mobility is our dump stat. We want all the other four to be at 80, as this is going to maximize the amount of damage we can do and the amount of crit we can get out of this weapon. We're using an Oxford Judgment in this build, so mobility really isn't an issue. So let's look at the perks. We're using a 25% damage to unyielding. This counts as, from what I can tell, it counts as all Ogryn, but there are some reports that one of the Ogryn doesn't count as unyielding, and it's all a bit weird. But for now, unyielding is kind of the way to go, because it should count for every single one of them, plus boss damage. And this is going to allow us to execute bosses very, very quickly, with lots of backstabs and bleeds. Next up, we're going for crit. So this is just going to take this knife to the next level, as this is a very crit-centric build. So we're going to put some more on the weapon just to help us get past those break points. And then for the blessings, we're going for Uncanny Strike. It's a stupidly powerful blessing, and I'll explain why. So you get plus 24% rending on enemy weak spot hit for 3.5 seconds, and that stacks 5 times. So, as I said before, rending is just damage, basically. 1% of rending equals to 1% of damage. The equation to work it out is a little bit more complicated than that, but that's basically what it boils down to. So 1% rending works to 1% damage. And with this, we are going to be getting 120% damage at 5 stacks. And then the next blessing, we're going for Mercy Killer, plus 60% weak spot damage. So we are not only having plus 120% damage through rending on a weak spot hit, Mercy Killer is also giving us another 60 when we are hitting weak spots. So, as you can see, you want to be aiming for the face, or the weak spot if it's not the face. That stacks up to about 180% damage if we can keep it rolling to how we want, which we should be able to. That is the entire deal of the build. It is weak spots. So that is our delightful dagger. Next up, we're going to be looking at the ranged weapon. Again, I will give you 2 choices on this, like I do on every build, because I prefer using the bolt gun now. It is very, very, very silly. Actually, I'm going to give you 3 choices on this. So my first pick is the bolt gun, because it is your get out of jail free card. Obviously, you're running around, aiming for the face, all that sort of thing. And oh no, Big Daddy Crushers are here. And there's a lot of them. Not anymore, there's not. Point the gun, make the bad man go away. That's why I like the bolt gun. Also, I've done some more testing since the last build came out, if you've seen that one. Definitely dump mobility, put in reload speed. The difference is night and day between them. So, for the bolt gun, how are we building it? We're building it like this. Plus 25% damage to flak armor. I say it in every single guide, but I shall say it again. Flak is the most prevalent armor type in the game, and this is going to give us the best increased damage against kind of everything. That isn't an unarmored dreg, and that doesn't matter. We get a lot of damage against unarmored just through the build, or a boss. And we've already got unyielding to deal with that. So as I said, more unyielding damage, which is going to help you against Ogryns and bosses. This is going to be a really good way to lay down a lot of damage on a boss that you can't get near to. For example, Beasts of Nurgle, they have a large area of denial around them. Sometimes it is just not possible to get up behind them and hit them in the weak spot. And that's why I've got this. And for the blessings, we're going to be using Fire Frenzy, which gains us 10% close damage for 3.5 seconds after killing an enemy at close range. Stacks 5 times. So as you're blowing through a horde, this will be stacking up very quickly. And we're taking Inspiring Barrage because this is going to be a really good way of farming back toughness if we need it. Now, I'll give you the two other options as well while we're here. The other option is the Braced Autogun with Flak and Unyielding. So it's basically built the exact same way as the bolt gun. Flak, Unyielding, Inspiring Barrage, and Fire Frenzy. So this is going to give us more handling, and it isn't as cumbersome to switch between. It's got very, very respectable damage on it, and it is good for just blowing through a horde. It doesn't quite have the same oomph as the bolt gun, so you're not going to be able to do much against carapace armored enemies. But anything that's not wreathed in armor, you can take down without very much problem. And the third option is still the game's basically meta weapon to use, which is the revolver. And you know, it's meta for a reason. It's ridiculously good, and it's very, very, very accurate. So you can, oh god damn it, is that the, was it defaulted to the Agrippina? I hate the Agrippina. It's awful. Let me just change the mark of this. There goes Zerona. It's the Zerona Mark IIA you want. And why is it good? Because it's basically a sniper rifle with insane crit on it. You'll still have the two-shot maulers, but you can also pull down a crusher if you need to. As you can see, 3 shots to the head, and that thing's down. So I know a lot of people have said, "Oh, it's been nerfed," blah, blah, blah. It's still massively overpowered, folks. So don't listen to the naysayers. And how do you want to build this thing? Well, you want to build it how I suggest building everything, which is dump out mobility, keep everything else at 80. And then for the blessings, you want hand cannon, which gives you 60% rending on critical hit, and surgical, which gives you a guaranteed critical hit once you hold the gun in aim for a few seconds. So aim down sights, you can see surgical stacking up rapidly down there. And you don't have to wait for it to get to max. There is so much inherent crit in this build that you're almost guaranteed a crit when you fire this. And as for the perks, I would definitely suggest... Why are these things rolled so wrong? I don't think I've sorted them out since the update. So what you want for the perks is Flak and Unyielding. Again, it's doing exactly what you need it to do. It's dealing with flak armor and bosses. And for the blessings, you want hand cannon and surgical. So dump mobility, flak, unyielding, hand cannon, surgical. I will have to get those fixed at some point. I didn't realise I hadn't sorted out my pistol. Oh well. That one. But there you go. That's the range weapons for you. And now, something slightly different. We are running 3 max health Curios. And I know you're wondering why, but we're running these because it gives us the most bang for a buck, especially running a stealth build. We are going to take chip damage. And this is basically going to negate all of that. We still have a lot of ways to regen toughness, so toughness is not a problem. This is going to help us deal with all of that chip damage. I did have some notes sitting around somewhere about it, but I seem to have misplaced them. Oh well. So, on the Curios, one of them is going to have stamina regen with damage resistant snipers and damage resistant gunners. Then the other 2 are going to be exactly the same with toughness, damage resistant snipers, and damage resistance gunners as well. Snipers and gunners are going to be the biggest downfall in this build. Snipers, you will only really get killed by them if you're caught very out of position. Most of the time, when you are fighting, you'll be able to see their dirty little red beam hitting towards you, and you can just reposition yourself. But that isn't always possible. There will be situations where you are in the thick of things, and dodging is just not possible because you will get clipped on everything around you that is trying to smash your head in. So that is why we're taking damage resistant snipers, so that they can't just pop us while we're busy. And of course damage resistant gunners, because gunners are evil. And the damage resistance, I do say this in most of my build guides, but damage resistance gunners doesn't just give us resistance to gunners. So these guys, it actually gives us damage resistance from him, from him, from him, and from I don't think they're even there, and from shotgunners. I've just realised there aren't any shotguns in the Psychonarum. So yeah, gunners, reapers, shotgunners. And that's quite a lot of damage reduction on a fair amount of specialist enemies. And that is why I religiously take it on all Curios. So that's how we're building those. We are taking the stamina regeneration just to help out with dodging and blocking, but we're not taking it on every single one because it's not that needed. Right, so that is the gear. Let's take a look at the talents. So we'll start in the middle here. We're taking Anointed in Blood, up to 25% base range damage, reduce the further you are from the target. Purge the Unclean, 20% increased damage against infested and unyielding. This is going to help with our boss damage, and this is going to help us just mag dump into a horde that's very close to us. And we're jumping over here onto the right for Backstabber, 20% damage on melee backstab hits. Scourge, melee critical hits apply bleed, causing damage over time. Melee hits on bleeding enemies grant 10% critical chance, stacks 3 times. So we want to be able to crit so that they can bleed, that we can crit more. And then down here, Toughness Boost. Second Wind, replenish 15% toughness on a successful dodge. Enduring Faith, plus 50% toughness damage reduction on critical hits for 4 seconds. Blades of Faith. Throw a consecrated knife to deal high damage to a single enemy. Very effective against most enemies, less effective versus Carapace armor. Quick throw. Killing elite and special enemies in melee replenishes 1 knife. Ammo boxes replenish knives. So these, I actually really love these knives. They're absolutely awesome. Especially when you are running down specials. You can use them as basically an insta kill. Now, do you remember as well, your knives inherit all of the crit that you have from your build. So it's not just the blank knife doing damage, that the knife is gaining all of the crit and rending that you have in your build, which makes them very, very, very powerful. So that's Blades of Faith. We're going to jump over here to the left. Melee damage, movement speed, into Duelist. Plus 50% weak spot and critical hit damage for 3 seconds on dodge. Again, we are stacking up that weak spot damage and crit damage. So we're going to be wanting to dodge a lot to keep this running. And then we're taking Until Death. Fatal damage instead grants you invulnerability for 5 seconds. Can only occur once every 2 minutes. And back over here on to the right. Dance of Death. Minus 75% spread and 50% recoil for 3 seconds on successful dodge. Again, more on dodge abilities. Lyra be swift. Enemy melee attacks cannot stun you. On taking damage, gain 15% movement speed for 2 seconds. This is just going to help with survivability. Good Balance. A successful dodge grants 25% damage reduction for 2.5 seconds. Again, stacking up those on dodge abilities. Ambuscade. Plus 30% damage to ranged backstab attacks. You mag dump a bolter down a corridor that isn't turned towards you, and they're going to know about it. And then Loner. You always count as being in at least 2 coherency. This is going to help for a lot of the inherent team abilities that are about. Then Stamina Boost, and then Shroud Field. Enter Stealth for 3 seconds. While in Stealth, gain 20% movement speed, 100% backstab damage, 100% finesse damage, and 100% critical chance. You're basically going to one-tap anything when you come out of Stealth. Mastercrafted Shroud Field. Stealth duration is increased to 5 seconds, up from 3. And then Invigorating Revelation. Replenish 40% toughness over 5 seconds on leaving Stealth. Also gain 20% damage reduction. So your Stealth is going to be your get out of jail free card. You just pop it and you replenish toughness, and you also have damage reduction. Then into melee damage. And next up is Sustained Assault. Plus 4% melee damage for 5 seconds on hitting an enemy with a melee attack. Stacks 5 times. So 20% melee damage just by hitting things. Toughness damage reduction into Pious Cutthroat. Backstab kills restore 20% ability cooldown. This is going to allow you to use Shroud Field more, which is then going to allow this Cutthroat to proc more, and, hand in hand. And then Inoctual Judgment. Moving grants you momentum stacks 15 times. When you hit an enemy, spend all momentum, gaining 1% melee attack speed and 1% ranged attack speed. And 1% damage per stack lasts 6 seconds. And then we're taking Retributive Stance, replenish 2% toughness for each spent stack of momentum, and then Inebriate's Poise, gain 3 stacks of momentum on a successful dodge. Again, stacking up more dodge. Now, in the Cyclarium, I can't exactly show you how the build benefits from the dodges, as I'm not taking damage, therefore can't proc any of the dodges. But as you can see down the bottom, just by sprinting, Inoctual Judgment is stacking up. And then we're just going to... Oh yeah, they're the shotguns. I was going insane. As you can see, aim for the weak spots. But obviously do it while you're moving. Backstab, weak spots. Fun, fun, fun. You don't have to jump. I was just trying to see if I could. But do not sleep on the fact that your light attack will help you get those stacks of uncanny strikes. God damn, my memory's awful. So light attacks are the best way of getting up uncanny strikes. Always try and attack from behind if you can. You'll get a lot more damage out. Weave in heavy attacks when you can. So don't sleep on the light attacks with this weapon. They are very, very good. See heavy attacks as more of a finisher. Always try and aim for the face, because that is where all of your damage is going to be coming from, those weak spot hits. The weak spot isn't always on the face of the target. For example, the Beast of Nurgle, it's on that little pustule on the back. But you get what I mean. This build is a little bit more tricky to use than the rest of them, as it requires more timing and for you to be able to very quickly analyze what's happening in the fight and then to go in, pop out where you're needed. But once you get it down, it's an incredibly fun build to use, very fast paced, and you will feel like an absolute assassin using it. I really enjoy this build. I've used this build mostly to do the Karnak twins on hard mode and that sort of stuff. It's thoroughly enjoyable. And it's really fun going, oh my god, I'm about to get killed by a crusher. Nope. And you just peace out and then come back and finish him off. But there you go, folks. That is the Zealot stealth meta build. I mean, people are going to be upset about the Curios, but, you know, I've done a lot of research on this. The health Curios do win out on the stealth build. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, folks. If you've enjoyed, please do like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It really does help us out. And until the next video, take it easy, and I'll see you later.